This is without a doubt the most unstoppable offense in Madden 26. My name is Spruce, and today I'm going to break down my 3 favorite plays from this scheme and then take them into some online games to show you exactly how they work against real competition. And if you want to check out our full Lions offense game plan, which includes even more unstoppable money plays and one-play touchdowns, it's available right now on playbookprofessor.gg. And so starting off, we are looking at one of the best setups in the game for beating literally any defense your opponent throws at you. The play is halfback motion slot shake in the formation gun trio Y flex. And so this is halfback motion slot shake, and we always want to run this with our formation flipped so that our receivers are lined up on the wide side of the field. Now before the snap, the adjustments are to put your outside trips receiver on a streak, put your tight end on a deep cross, and put your running back on a flat route. Now, after the snap, the first read is going to be the running back in the flat. And if your opponent is not taking away the flats, we're going to hit the running back with a pass lead up and steal some easy yards on the outside. Now, the second read is going to be our inside trips receiver on this shake route. And this shake route is insanely good, and it's why I love this play so much. You can also think of it as kind of a stutter slant. And what's going to happen is, if you watch him run his route, he's going to kind of just stutter there for just a second and then cut across the middle. And this route is just really, really unique. I have not seen a whole lot of routes like this, and it ends up getting great spacing against zone coverage and man coverage, which we'll look at in just a second. You see here against zone coverage, that hook curl linebacker is not really going to follow him. And then on the other side, we'll come to the crosser in a little bit, but the crosser is driving back the other hook curl defender in this cover 3 defense, giving us a super easy spot to hit our shake route, or our what's it called, a stutter slant route over the middle. But it's not just great against zone coverage, like we said, it's great against man coverage as well. So let's go ahead and put the defense in a cover 1 hole. If we go ahead and set up this play once again, we can see that this route is going to completely cook the man coverage. And so we had to wait a second for him to get past the 3-rec defender. But you can see that is about as good of a man-beating route as you'll ever get. And I subbed out Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's just Khalif Raymond in there making defenders miss like that. This route truly is one of the best man-beating routes I have seen. And we can do some cover 2 man right here, set up the play once again, and we'll see that once again, we are just going to absolutely cook. I mean, it is kind of comical how good this route is at beating man coverage. And that's why it's going to be the second read on this play. Now, the third read is going to be the middle trips receiver on the return route. And because of the shake route pulling the zone defenders inside, it can oftentimes leave space for the return route on the outside. And we can see right there that we have a perfect pocket of open space in between, in this case, the flat defender and the hook curl defender on the left. And it's just a really nice pocket of space to hit that return route. But return routes also can be really great against man coverage as well. So we put the defense once again into a cover 1. We can see right here that the return route can do pretty good against man, and it wasn't a ton of separation, but it was enough separation to be able to make that throw. And obviously, if it's a better receiver, then he has an even better chance of getting separation. So that's why the return route is the third read on the play. Now, the fourth read is going to be our tight end on the crosser. And this is mainly going to be what we look at if our opponent starts shading their coverage down. And so let's say they shade down the cover 3, and that's going to help take away the flat route. It might do a better job of guarding the shake route and the return route. But as a result, now the crosser is going to be wide open in the second level. So go ahead and snap this ball. We're going to see that as he crosses the field, we just pass lead that ball down, and we have an easy completion on the outside as he gets close to the sidelines. Obviously, if you're too close to the sidelines, then just possession catch it to keep your toes in. But it is just such, I love this route combo so much, guys. And we can see against man coverage as well that the crosser does a decent job. And of course, it will depend on who your tight end is. Like, better tight ends will separate better against man coverage. And right there, Laporte is a solid tight end, and so he is going to do a little better against man coverage maybe than average. But overall, whether it's man or zone coverage, I definitely like throwing to the crosser as well. And so that is our setup in motion halfback slot shake. I think this is a super, super easy play to set up and play to read. I think the shake route is what really pulls it all together. And I think you'll have a ton of success running this setup. And that's why it is our base pass play in the gun trio Y flex formation. Next, we are looking at an absurdly powerful passing setup that makes use of a super glitchy auto motion wheel route. The play is Mtn Mesh Rail in the formation gun Y off trio close. And so this is Mtn Mesh Rail, and we always want to run this with our formation flipped so that our receivers are lined up on the wide side of the field. Now before the snap, there's only one adjustment that we have to make, and that is to take our middle receiver and put him on a post. Now, there are some optional adjustments as well, and so these two drags on the field are actually mesh drags, and we'll look at what that means in just a second. But if you want them to be normal drags, then you can, of course, re-drag them if you want, but I usually just leave them as the mesh drags. Now, after the snap, the very first read is going to be our outside receiver on the auto motion wheel route. And if your opponent is not playing up, then you can actually hit the auto motion wheel route right away for easy yards on the outside. It's actually very easy to hit them outside, and depending on the coverage, you might be even more open than that. I know for a fact that if we go to cover 4 quarters or cover 4 palms, which I have the defense in right now, these guys are going to leave that wheel route wide open. And so the very first thing you want to look at after the snap is throwing out to that wheel route with a pass lead outside. Now, it does take just a split second for the icon to appear. And so watch it one more time. Watch it. It takes just a split second for that icon to appear. So if you press the button too soon, it won't register. So make sure you wait until that button actually appears. Just pass lead outside, possession catch it, and that's easy yards on the outside. Now, your second and third reads are going to be your two drags crossing over the middle of the field. And so if it is zone coverage, then what mesh drags are going to do is they are going to actually sit down in the soft spots underneath the zones. And so we're going to see what that means right now. We're going to go ahead and press hike, and you can see right here that the mesh drags actually sit down rather than running across the field. This can be really nice because there are going to be situations where maybe your opponent has a hard flat on the outside, and if it was a normal drag, then that drag would keep running all the way to the hard flat. But instead, since it's a mesh drag, it sits down. Now you can hit him and then just get your yards after the catch. You can see that our other drag also sat down as well. And so that is what I was talking about at the beginning when I said you may want to re-drag them, because in some cases they're running and you want them to keep running, but because it's zone coverage, they sit down. And so that's going to be up to you whether you want to re-drag them. Like I said, I usually just leave them as mesh drags, but it is up to you. Now, the thing with mesh drags is that against man coverage, they are just going to run their routes like normal drags. And here we have the defense in cover 1. If we go ahead and snap this ball, these drags are just going to run across the field. They are not going to stop. And mesh drags are great at beating man coverage, and right there, an easy 5-yard gain. Usually we can get a nice rat catch after the catch with the pass lead outside, and we can pick up some yards after the catch. We'll run it one more time. We'll see if we can get some rack yards. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with a 5-yard gain, but ideally against man coverage, we want to be able to hit them for even more yards than that. In this case, we can hit Amon-Ra St. Brown. There we go. That's really what we're looking for when we are running the mesh drags against man coverage. And so you're going to read both of the drags as your second and third reads. Now, the final read is going to be that middle receiver who we put on the post. And if your opponent starts shading their zone coverage down, so like we'll put them in a shaded down cover 3, this is where the post route is going to shine, because your opponent basically is stuck in a high-low. They can either guard high and take away the post, but they give up our mesh drags underneath, or they can shade down, they can take away the mesh drags underneath, but of course, then the post is going to be open. So if we go ahead and snap this ball, we're going to see that in this case, with the defense shaded down, we can just go ahead and pass lead this ball down. And the pass lead's very important, guys. If you don't pass lead that ball down, one of those, either the safety or the outside third might be able to make a play on this ball. But as long as you pass lead it down in front of him and kind of come back to the ball maybe, and we didn't even have to come back to the ball in this case, but you can see that there's plenty of room to make this throw. And so as long as you're able to just pass lead the ball properly, then you'll have no problems at all making this throw to the post. Super, super easy. If you feel uncomfortable, then just get into practice mode, do some shade down cover 3, and you'll see just how easy it is to make that throw in that soft spot in between the zones. And the post can also beat man coverage as well. I'd say it's not amazing against man coverage, and it also just depends on who the particular receiver is. I don't think Patrick is that amazing at beating man coverage, but that being said, if he has even a step, you can still pass that ball out in front of him and haul in a nice catch against man coverage as well. Now, the final read on this play is going to be the running back on the wheel route. 9 times out of 10, you won't be throwing to him, but you still want to peek him just in case, because there will be times where he can get open over the top. And to be truly honest, I don't know if he's going to get open right now or not, but we can watch right here. And in that case, maybe if we pass lead it inside and And wow, that was a crazy interception. Like I said, you're just going to peek it late, but it's not part of the primary read progression. We're not too concerned with that. That's a crazy interception, by the way. But you just want to make sure you peek it late because sometimes there'll be bumping if it's man coverage and he will come open. But again, we're not too worried about that. The primary reads are going to be the motion wheel route, the double drags, and then the post. Probably put a crosser. I meant to put a post on the field. Those are going to be the 4 main reads on this play. And against any coverage in the game, you have someone open. Remember, we went through man coverage and zone coverage. And don't forget, like we said at the beginning, even match coverage. If your opponent is in cover 4 palms or cover 4 quarters, the throw is going to be to this motion wheel route. I definitely want to re-emphasize that because I have this play listed as a match beater. That is how you beat match. It is with the motion wheel on the outside because they simply don't get outside to cover it. And so that is our base pass play, our first setup in Motion Mesh Rail. Finally, we are looking at an easy setup that bombs both cover 3 and cover 4 drop for a 1-play touchdown. The play is slot under H angle, and we are back in the formation gun trio Y flex. So this is slot under H angle, and to run this coverage bomb, we need to be on a hash with our receivers lined up on the wide side of the field. Now before the snap, the adjustments are to put your outside trips receiver on a comeback route, put your tight end on a post, and block your running back. And this is the setup right here. This is going to work against both cover 3 and cover 4 drop. So to start off, I'll put the defense in cover 3. I'm going to spy out the D tackles because practice mode block sheds are ridiculous. But what you're going to see is that the comeback route is going to pull down the outside third, and the seam route from our inside trips receiver is going to occupy the middle third. And as a result, our tight end is going to get wide open against cover 3 for an easy bomb. Now we do need to pass lead it up and outside. You can see that the outside third does like to kind of break off late, so you don't want to wait too long. I'd say I probably waited a little longer than I should, but as long as you don't wait too long, then you can see that it's an easy touchdown. We'll run it once again against cover 3. You see that you cross the field, go ahead and hit that pass lead up and outside, and you have your easy touchdown. Now let's look at cover 4. And this gets even more open against cover 4 than cover 3. So cover 4 quarters shaded down. Shading it down turns it into cover 4 drop. Let's spy out the D tackles once again. Same exact setup. We're going to just do comeback route, post, block the running back. And this time, we're going to get even more open because that outside quarter is going to get pulled down and he's going to stay down. And so you can see that this is actually going to be wide open. I guess he did kind of break off when I threw the ball. And I guess Goff just overthrew it. Let's try that again because obviously we want to get a successful rep. As you guys saw, it was wide open. Once again, let's spy out these D tackles. So that's the route combo. Cover 4 drop. And you see that the tight end is going to get wide open. Again, passing that ball up and outside. And this time we have the easy completion. And so I love this setup. There's lots of cover 3 bombs and lots of cover 4 bombs, but I always try to give you guys setups that bomb both coverages because sometimes we don't know if it's cover 3 or cover 4, especially if our opponent is disguising their coverage well. And when you don't know which it is, you need a setup that will work for both. And so bombing cover 3 and cover 4 drop with the same setup is really, really powerful. We'll get one last rep in just because it's a lot of fun to throw these one-play touchdowns. And we have the easy completion to Laporta. And it's that simple, guys. So that is how we're going to bomb cover 3 and cover 4 drop using the play slot under H angle. So now that we've looked at how awesome these setups are, I'm gonna hop into some online head-to-head games and show you guys how they work against real competition. And other than when we're at the goal line, I'm gonna challenge myself to only use the 3 setups that we just looked at. And so here we go with game number 1. I am playing as the Detroit Lions. We are playing on the road against the Buffalo Bills, taking on user Ponch ZZZ1. And in this game, I did start on defense, so I'm going to jump ahead to the start of our first offensive drive. So I actually forced my user into taking a safety on his first drive. Then he had a pretty bad safety punt, so we're starting on the 40. But we are going to get started in gun trio Y flex and halfback motion slot shake. We got the tight end on the crosser, got the running back on the flat route, and we got our outside receiver on the streak. And in this case, my opponent's just not going to guard the flat. Going to make him miss with Jahmyr Gibbs and get some really nice yards after the catch. And I don't know how many times I gotta say, take your flat routes, look at your underneath routes. And it's insane how many people just don't guard the flats in this game. And so I just throw to the flats and get free yards whenever they leave it open. Now right here, we are going for the coverage bomb. What's gonna happen is my opponent's gonna end up being in man coverage. But the great thing about this coverage bomb is we have several great man beaters as well. So you saw the slant was still open, the comeback route was still open. And so even though he wasn't in zone coverage, we couldn't get the one play touchdown. We just have to still go through the reads. We have an easy completion to the comeback route. Now on 1st and 10, I'm back in halfback motion slot shake. Once again, tight end on the crosser, running back on the flat route, outside receiver on the streak. And once again, we're going to see that my opponent is simply going to not guard the flat, give it out to Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's an easy touchdown. It does not get any easier than that. Do not make life more complicated than it needs to be. Take your easy routes if your opponent is leaving them open. All right, so my opponent's second drive here also ended in an incompletion. And so we're going to start with the ball in really good field position on the 28-yard line. And this time we're going to go over to gun Y-off trio close, and we're going to run the play motion mesh rail. Remember, only one adjustment, that middle receiver on a post. Super quick to set up, snap that ball, and we got the auto motion wheel route. Now on this first play, I tried to get my tight end, and I did not see that safety coming down. There's actually match coverage. He kind of tricked me a little bit, or it says it was man coverage. Maybe it was man coverage. Basically, I was not expecting that safety over the top to be coming down to guard the tight end, but we'll still take a 4-yard gain. Now here on 2nd and 6, running the same setup, and what you're going to see here is that my post is going to be wide open. I try to get it out to him. It's a touchdown if we get the throw off, but the O-line did not hold up. They shed us straight up the middle, and so that brings us to 3rd and 6, but very frustrating because it was a touchdown if we could just get the throw off. But 3rd and 6, let's just get the first down right here. It's going to be man coverage again. This time, our tight end drag is wide open. I try to throw it out to him and a swat at the line. I tell you what, there are a lot more swats at the line this year. I think EA added it for realism. To me, it just seems like random fluke. It doesn't make sense in a competitive game mode. It says in the upper right, it says comp. If this was a sim game mode, I'd maybe understand a little more. I think that has no place in a comp game mode. That's my personal opinion. But we have to live with it. It is what it is. So on 4th and 6, same setup, and this time it's cover 2. And so with a pass lead down, we have the completion to the auto motion wheel route along the sideline. And so from there, I'm just going to goal line because we're on the 2-yard line. And I believe it's going to be 2 QB sneaks, and I think we're going to be into the end zone. And so we'll see what happens on 1st and goal right here. And he doesn't have a nose tackle. He's not in goal line 5-3. And so we actually fumbled the ball, and so that was a little bit terrifying. And so I think after that I said, you know what, maybe we're not going to let Jared Goff run a QB sneak. And so it looks like we're going to be handing off or tossing out to David Montgomery, actually, take around the edge, and we are into the end zone for another touchdown. So my opponent did get 7 on his next drive, and so we have a minute left in the first half. We are back in the gun trio Y flex formation, and we need a touchdown here to put this game away before halftime. And so same adjustments as always, tight end crosser, running back flat route, outside receiver on the streak. And in this case, I thought about throwing to the shake route over the middle. I was like, you know what, let me get on a hash. Let me stop the clock, and let's kind of go from there. But I definitely could have thrown to the shake route. I just like playing very conservative. I like stopping the clock when we're on a 2-minute drill or a 1-minute drill. But same setup once again. And this time, you're going to see that it's still the flat route. And it might be boring for you guys, but guys, this is a real game against a real person. Real people will sit there and leave the flats open for you. And so if they do that, you have to just take them. But now we are going back to our coverage bomb. And this time, he is going to be in zone coverage. I got a slant across the field to try and distract his user. And sure enough, there is the coverage bomb, wide open. Can't quite finish it for the touchdown. I thought we had made a miss, but I guess we tripped up. But it got us down to the 5-yard line. And so this time, I'm going to go once again with halfback motion slot shake. And we are going to just run our normal setup. And if I remember correctly, on this first play, I missed the read. The tight end crosser would have been open. Oh, wait. No, it's actually wide open. Just kidding. I was thinking of a different play. All these games can blend together. So right there, yeah, the shake route is wide open, and that's an easy touchdown. I think we're going to see another play in maybe the next game where I missed my read. But in this case, yeah, that was wide open, easy touchdown. We're up 23-7, and I think that we might have part of one more drive. And so right here, we are on our first drive of the second half, and we are back in motion mesh rail, and you're going to get to see the power of these mesh drags. We get so much separation and a ton of easy yards after the catch. We're going to go ahead and call it once again. We're just going to make sure that it looks like I was subbing out, I was subbing in Raymond for Patrick because Patrick's only like 88 speed. And so remember, always flip your formation, get those receivers on the wide side of the field, motion mesh rail once again. And this time it's going to be our mesh drag who's going to actually stop. He's going to sit down in the soft spot between the zones. And after that, my opponent was pretty much done. I think this is where he threw in the towel. And yep, that he conceded. Let's see. Yep, there's a concede. So let's hop on to game 2. So here we are in game number 2. We are playing at home this time, taking on the New York Giants and playing user DeKiller Kai. And once again in this game, I start off on defense, so I'll skip ahead to the start of our first offensive drive. Now my opponent went down the field and scored a touchdown on his first drive, and so I need to respond with a touchdown of my own. We are in halfback motion slot shake, and my opponent is in match coverage here. And you're going to see this shake route get left completely unguarded. That's Jameson Williams. We decided to get a little bit sticky, make a bunch of guys miss. I thought we were going to take it all the way to the end zone, but we got stopped just short on the 3-yard line. Would have been really nice to get a touchdown on that, but nothing wrong with getting down to the 3-yard line. I decided to go goal line right here, and I think I might go QB sneak once again. I apparently didn't learn my lesson last time when Goff fumbled the ball on the QB sneak, but because he has nobody on the inside, there's just all the space in the world to just QB sneak up the middle. I guess I'm quite, I think I was double teaming his inside stuff. Okay, I didn't QB sneak. I decided to just do a halfback dive, get us down to the 1-yard line, and this time I no huddled, and this one might be a QB sneak. Goff forgot where he's supposed to line up, but we're going to QB sneak in for the end zone, and that is a touchdown to start off the game with our first drive. And so I was able to force my opponent to punt, and we are starting with the ball on the 45-yard line, and I'm going with our coverage bomb in slot under H angle, and it is going to be zone coverage. I'm putting my middle receiver on a post to try and distract that user, make him not realize it's the tight end getting open, but the tight end is open. I would have liked to wait a little bit longer, but we still got the completion. You saw I had the defensive lineman barreling down on me. I just had to get the ball out. Ideally, I wait half a second longer, or maybe even a second longer, and then the throw is even more open. But with the D lineman in my face, just had to get that ball out. But we are down to the 5-yard line. Back in goal line once again, just because he's not even really playing goal line defense. And so he's just going to let us run it up the middle. But of course, then he's going to shed. And okay, so we go backwards 2 yards somehow, even though he had only 4 down linemen. That's just kind of how the game is this year. So we're going back to gun trio Y flex. We're going to once again run a halfback motion slot shake. And I believe this is the play I was referencing when we were looking at game 1, where I think this is the one where I'm going to have my tight end open in the back of the end zone. It's right there. And I tried to force it to the return route. We got the completion, but watching it back, the correct throw really would have been to the tight end, and we would have had the touchdown. Now, I ended up going back to goal line, and so on 3rd and goal, I QB sneak up the middle, down to like the 1-inch line. I just no huddle it. I mean, the ball's basically already in there, and so all we got to do is fall forward by just a hair, and that's all we had to do, and we got in, and so that is another touchdown. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, we are loop blitzing him like crazy, and he is chucking into coverage. That is an interception for us, and I thought I could get around this O-lineman, but that's okay. And so with 2 minutes and 27 seconds left in the second quarter, we are starting at midfield, and we are going to gun Y off trio close. We're running motion mesh rail. Of course we are. I mean, motion mesh rail is just, it's just such a good play. And we didn't even get that great of reps in it in game 1. And so I really want to get some solid reps in motion mesh rail here in game 2. And so starting off right here, we're going to have the tight end drag open late. And he got bumped a little bit, but you saw he still came open. And so sometimes you got to be patient. The bumping in this game is kind of ridiculous. Like, guys will just bump into each other like crazy, but just be patient. He'll get to his spot eventually. And so here we go on 1st and 10. We're at the 2-minute warning now. Same setup as before. And this time we're going to see the wheel route wide open against those cover 2 shells. They have no shot at guarding that wheel route because they're usually shading down because they're worried about the drag. And when they do that, the wheel route is just completely unguarded along the sideline. And so 1st and 10 here, about 1:27 left. And I think on this play, yeah, this was a bad one, guys. This was a bad one. This was either bad read or wrong button. I'm not sure which it was. That is not a throw we want to make. I had my mesh drag underneath. I think it was just a wrong button, but just obviously not the intention there. But, you know, Bad reads are going to happen occasionally. We just got to refocus and try to make a good read on the next play. And right there, nothing open, honestly. Or maybe I could have thrown the drag early. But now you're kind of in a tough spot. 3rd and 10. Gotta stay focused, though. Gotta trust in the route combo. Gotta trust in the setup. Because if we make the right reads, someone's going to be open. So just gotta press the right buttons, make the right reads. And sure enough, right here, we have the tight end drag this time. And just take it all the way to the end zone. That's why we gotta believe in the setup. Don't abandon setups too soon just because you get stopped 1 or 2 times in a row, or because you pressed the wrong button one time. Stand tall in the pocket, go through your read progressions, hit your open guys, and it will pay off. All right, so after getting another stop on my opponent, we have the ball at midfield once again in the 3rd quarter. We are back in motion mesh rail, and my opponent's gonna be in man coverage once again. And guess what? That tight end drag, that is the easiest yards ever against man coverage. And we even break a couple tackles. Thought we might go all the way, but that's a solid gain. Brings us down to the 31-yard line. And so here on 1st and 10, same setup. You guys already know the drill. Got the auto motion wheel route. And this time it is going to be our post route. Sorry, I thought it was going to be our post route. Looking at that back, I think I would have liked to try and throw that post. The mesh drag that sat down, he was absolutely open. But as I was watching this replay, I was like, dang, like maybe I should have tried to throw that post route right there. And so let's see what we do on 2nd and 10. And this time I'm going to go back to the drag, take our easy yards underneath. We're even reaching for it, and we're at 3rd and inches. So a minute 22 left in the 3rd quarter. Motion mesh rail once again. Super quick. Just put that middle receiver on a post, get that auto motion wheel route. And I may have, gave you guys a sneak peek of what we're throwing. And there's the post wide open. And that is an easy touchdown. And after that, my opponent, I think he stuck around for part of a drive, but he did not stick around this game much longer, with us up by 3 touchdowns late in the 3rd quarter. So that is why the Lions offense is the most unstoppable offense in Madden 26. And don't forget that our full Lions offense game plan is available right now at playbookprofessor.gg. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.